Science.
This is not any ordinary MRI scanner. This state-of-the-art technology at King's College London allows doctors to map babies' brains while they're still in the womb. Traditional MRI scanners work by taking a series of cross-sectional images that are then reconstructed into 3D images. Conventionally, subjects entering an MRI scanner must remain as still as possible and are often held in place to make sure the scans are clear. This is obviously impossible with fetuses which float in the womb and are therefore in continual movement. Until recently, the only way to scan a fetus was to use single-shot techniques to freeze motion. But this breakthrough software enables doctors to take scans during movement, making it possible for the first time to see individual nerve connections forming in the baby's brain and draw up a map, which scientists are calling the connectome.
The connectome will provide a map so that we can understand what's going on in the brain and provide a context for all the other information we have. At the moment, we know a lot about how the brain works. We know a lot about the molecules in the brain, how the message is sent from one nerve fiber to another. But it's very difficult to put that in context because we don't have a map in which to place all that information. And even more, for our case, we don't have a map that changes over time. So what we will have is a four-dimensional map, 3 spatial dimensions and 1 dimension of time, in which we can place new information or indeed old information that we already know about the brain to understand how things work in context.
Problems before or during birth can have severe implications for the child, which sometimes only become apparent years later. Scientists are still uncertain about what causes certain diseases, like autism, for example. Some identified genes have been associated with the disorder, but it's also believed abnormalities could result from a disruption in fetal brain development. Premature babies are particularly vulnerable because of the disruption to their neurological development.
We're very interested in how development might not be quite right, how the brain might develop slightly abnormally and give you problems with understanding things or problems with social relations. So we're interested in how children might develop autism or attention deficit disorder. Or other things like that, or cerebral palsy. We're interested in why the brain might go wrong and how the connections in the brain might be the cause or the method by which that happens.
For the parents taking part in the research, there's an added bonus. They get to see the most extraordinary images of their baby's development. Laura Crittenden has a 2-year-old daughter and is now looking forward to the birth of her second baby.
I'm really nosy, so I like to know what's going on. I'm quite sort of self-aware of what's going on in there, so to actually have the images on top of that is pretty special, really, to be able to see what they're doing and how they're growing. I always love the sonography, so anything even more than that, brilliant.
Functional MRI scans have meant that for years now, scientists have been able to see which part of the brain are activated by fear or addiction, for example. Some are even trying to understand desire. This new technology could help discover more.
We image the way water moves in the brain, and water tends to move up and down nerve fibers, so we can watch the movement of water up and down nerve fibers and infer where the nerve fibers are. And we also measure function. We can see how the blood flow is changing in the brain, and when the brain activates a certain area, it needs more blood. We can see that, so we can infer from the blood flow changes which bits of brain are active and see which bits of brain are working together. And so we have the function of the brain by that method.
Focusing on more than 1,500 babies, the Development Human Connectome project studies many aspects of their neurological development in the hope of one day being able to diagnose disorders early and better treat infants.